Before we get into tonight's game and the rest of the NBA schedule, once again, a police shooting and the reaction to it has led to the postponement of an NBA game. The game between the Brooklyn Nets and Minnesota Timberwolves has been postponed for tonight after the shooting of Daunte Wright in a Minneapolis suburb Sunday. In addition, the baseball game between the Boston Red Sox and Minnesota Twins and the Minnesota Wild and St. Louis Blues in the National Hockey League were also postponed. This is another example of the world of athletics putting the world on notice. They will continue to play an active part in the discussion and protest of these events. In case you missed it, ladies and gentlemen, the NBA players, specifically, that's what I'm talking about here. They're not going anywhere. Remember, the Milwaukee Bucks boycotted Game 5 of a playoff series in the bubble last summer in the aftermath of the shooting of Jacob Blake in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Remember the players taking a knee and constantly during interviews reminding everybody of Breonna Taylor. Remember what happened with George Floyd and the fact that that trial is going on in that local Minneapolis area right now. Understand that the NBA players and athletes everywhere are done being quiet. They understand they are part of this society as well. And that's by shining a light on these issues, it could potentially make a difference. They're not going away. This is the latest example for us all to get used to that. The league, the NBA, issued this statement. In light of the tragic events in the Minneapolis area yesterday, tonight's game between the Brooklyn Nets and the Minnesota Timberwolves at Target Center has been postponed. The decision to postpone was made by the NBA after consultation with the Timberwolves organization and local and state officials. Our thoughts remain with the family and friends of Daunte Wright during this difficult time. Earlier today, Sixers coach Doc Rivers and Warriors forward Eric Paschall shared their thoughts.
Frustrating as it should be for, I think we got to stop saying it's frustrating for all Black Americans. I think we should be frustrated by all Americans. I don't know if it was a mistake or not. I saw the video, the body cam video like everyone else. But I just know the frustration is a real thing for everybody and for us. And, you keep hearing this cancel culture stuff, but, we're canceling Black lives. And I think, to me, that's a little, more important, in my opinion. And it just keeps happening. We keep making mistakes on killing Black people.
Being real, I mean, people driving, as soon as people hear cop sirens, they fear. Like one of my friends got pulled over the other day, and that's the first thing that comes to my mind. So things like that, that's something that needs to change, because we shouldn't be having the fear of getting pulled over by the cops, because we never know if we're going to make it out alive or not.
We now welcome in Malika Andrews. Malika, welcome to the show. What conversations led to the postponement of the game tonight between the Nets and the Timberwolves?
Well, there was a couple of factors, Stephen A. This morning, the Nets were going through shoot-around as normal, preparing for this game to happen tonight. When that Twins-Red Sox game was postponed, that was a major domino, and the conversations with local officials, including the governor of Minnesota, as well as with the league and various folks around it within the teams, those conversations started to ramp up. On top of that, there has been a time tonight that the people are now not able to go out. So all of those different factors are what led to a curfew, are what led to this game being postponed. And ultimately, people within the teams felt that it was just the right thing to do, taking the temperature of the emotions of the players, as well as the various people around the community.
Malika, in talking to some of the players around the league, as I have over the last few hours, what you hear constantly is about, hey, Colorado, 10 people were killed. Somebody was arrested. An individual walked into a church in South Carolina. 9 people were killed. They ended up arrested. Yet again, when it pertains to a Black individual, they end up getting shot. That's what I'm hearing from the players that I spoke to just over the last few hours. What are the players around the league saying about the shooting in Minnesota this weekend to you?
Well, I'm hearing a lot of sadness, a lot of frustration, but Stephen A., as I'm sure you're hearing, not a lot of surprise. This is something that unfortunately they have become to expect. It happens over and over again. I talked to one player tonight who said, look, I'm 22 and Dante Wright was 20 years old and he was shot. That's what really stuck with him. I talked to another player that said this just can't keep happening. It's incredibly frustrating for us to have to see this over and over again to happen to people who look like us. That was a large part of what led to this postponement too, was the fact that the players, they feel this. They feel this over and over again. I talked to coaches around the league who say this is absolutely the right thing to do. You mentioned the Milwaukee Bucks earlier. This feels like an extension of that in some ways because this league has become accustomed to this being something that they have to deal with often. And so that's the sentiment I'm hearing from players, I'm hearing from coaches, and I'm hearing from league officials. But by and large, they're extending their thoughts to the family.
Malika Andrews, always appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here. For more, let's bring in the great Michael Wilbon, PTI fame and beyond. Michael, you've been a columnist for so many years with your years at the Washington Post. You've been at ESPN for the last couple of decades with the extraordinary work that you've been doing. You see a reaction like this where games are being postponed. What runs through your mind, covering sports for as many decades as you have covered it?
Stephen A., lot of stuff, and including, I'll piggyback on something that Malika just said. For these players who are 22 and 25 and even 30 years old, and they're saying, wow, the sad part is we're not surprised anymore. You and I are a lot older than that, all right? And so for those players, if they think about their fathers and their uncles and their coaches and former players who may have mentored them, for those of us who are decades older, saddened, I'm more angry than sad, and absolutely not surprised. Let me just mention something Richard Jefferson said earlier today. He said on The Jump. He said that, in terms of cancellation and understanding it and backing it and understanding the leverage that players have now and they're using it, we need a moment. We need a moment. We're not ready to entertain people tonight. We need a moment. And you got to think that everybody in that greater Minneapolis area, not just people playing and coaching and participating in sports, but everybody who's having to consume this and deal with the emotions surrounding this, you need a moment. And so canceling the games or postponing them, not canceling them, postponing them is absolutely, to me, the right thing to do.